Hey everybody, VanderWal here, Built for a Purpose podcast, coming to you from my home studio. We're going to be doing some podcasts from here. I'm excited about that. We got a great stuff coming up here over the next few months. And so as we kind of dig into this next few series, we've got some great guests coming on, which some of you know, some of you don't know. That will be outstanding. And then we just finished up a series on the heart of sales. Is a book that'll be coming out next year. We're working through that. Hope there's some great stuff you got out of there. Honestly, I think there's going to be a level of depth that we go to in the book that will really dig into some of the practical how-tos. And I think that's where, my passion really lies. I mean, high level on purpose, but also like getting into the heart of sales and understanding how to do it in a way in which is godly and certainly brings increase. I think the church has mostly stayed away from that. So I'm really looking forward to that. We'll do some, I get a lot of questions about that. So we'll probably dig into that some at another time. But today, what really was on my heart and I wanted to share with you guys and talk through is really understanding what's happening in the marketplace at large. And I think with just for even in the right now, we're currently in a government shutdown. And so it's just very strange what's happening. And the thing that I think I see more than anything is when I talk to people on an individual basis, really how to overcome the fear of what's happening in the market or the fear of like what's coming next. And I think that's an undertone. I think that a lot of high level leadership people or even high level managers with their team, people that are trying to hit production numbers, and trying to grow their businesses are frankly like, what do I do next? And so the underlying thing that I sense, I think more than anything talking to people is fear. There's a fear. And let me tell you, like the Bible says that perfect love casts out fear. Really, fear in our lives is not something that is a biblical thing to be operating in. I think it's an emotion that we have to look at and try to understand why we're operating in fear or why we feel fearful of this next season. If I was to be really candid with you, I think fear, by and large, is dictated from a place of feeling like I have an expectation. I'm not going to hit that expectation. I'm going to look foolish. I'm going to miss it for my people. I'm going to miss it for myself. And so I don't want to lose what I have. I don't want to be embarrassed by not getting to where I thought I was going to go. Fear, what I'm really saying is that fear is an outward component that we reflect internally. Like the fear that we have, if we really like burrow down into where that's coming from, it's a projection a lot of times of what we think about what others will think about us. Because if you really had no fear, you would just move forward based upon what you're called to do, and you would be trusting that God is going to continue to will and work on your behalf. And that things, I'm not saying don't be wise. I'm not saying don't be able to assess the times and the seasons. But what I am saying is that by completely ignoring those things is foolish, but to not recognize what we're called to do, but then take into account all of the what could be's and what's happening to make decisions based upon that over what God's called you to do. Really, if you're staying in the place of what's going to happen next, and it creates fear, which creates doubt, which creates confusion, which creates a stagnant approach, meaning you just don't really go after where you're supposed to go. You kind of get neutralized to a degree, and then you feel like, man, we're just not making progress. And that's true. You're really not. And so what I want to kind of unpack or kind of scratch at here a little bit is why you're afraid. If you feel like you've got some fear in some areas of your life, let me talk to those right now. There's a couple of different components. One, you've made a decision over the last maybe year or two or five, and now you're getting to a place where the market has softened. Like let's say real estate, like single family real estate. Well, multifamily is definitely soft. There's a lot of guys in multifamily right now that are they're stuck because they are over, like they may even still be cash flowing to a little bit, but they don't have to do anything, and they're not being able to jump on the opportunities that present themselves. In single family homes, you have a lot of people that are renting. Excuse me, rents have gone down some. And so the cash flow maybe isn't there, but there's not a lot of like foreclosure stuff happening. By and large, there's just a lack of ability to execute on some opportunities that people are seeing, certainly people that are hungry because they're kind of over collateralized at the moment. So that does two things. One, it gives an extremely strong opportunity for people that are entering the market. Like if you're going into multifamily or you're going into single family, or if you're going into the business market right now, you can get a value on things. The question is that are we at the bottom or are we heading to the bottom? And I don't think we're at the bottom. And I actually don't think we're going to see like a major off the cliff. I don't think it's going to be like knee jerk. I think the fear in the market in 2008, 9, 10 really pushed things forward, and it was very stagnant in 2010, 11, 12. So I was somebody that had just gotten into business in that 2008 to 2012 time frame, and I didn't know any better. And so, it wasn't like I was coming out of the late 90s, early 2000s booms in a lot of ways. I mean, I know there's a dot-com bubble that hurt a lot of people in the 90s and into 2000, or just after 2000. And I think there's also a lot of people that were, though, in a lot of spaces were doing really well in the early 2000s. And so when 2008 hit, we were overextended in a lot of ways. There was a lot of issues that were currently in the market at that time in 2008 to 2012 that don't exist now. But we are over leveraged as a nation. I mean, as far as not just the national debt, but as far as like individuals, people have a lot of debt, and it puts a lot of squeeze on them. So what it does is it creates opportunity for people that are getting into the market now that are cash flush, and that's good. But if you're not in that position and you're like, well, I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of in a stagnant place, that's okay to just keep grinding it out. I think what you got to do is realize that, showing up every day and continuing the path, that's going to happen. This is all cyclical. And so I do want to hit some of the key components of things that are a real thing, like cryptocurrency and some of the things that are happening right now that I think we really need to be aware of in a good way. But I think recognizing that, like, if you got in 2 or 3 years ago and the market overall, your overall portfolio, whether it's real estate or your business, is more stagnant, that's just part of the deal. And you just have to have the perseverance to see it through. That's principle number one, is perseverance. Number two, yes, ideally you'd be able to capitalize on some of the opportunities that are starting to present themselves. But if you can't necessarily be worried about that or upset about that. You have to steward what you already have in your hand, as opposed to being disappointed at what you're not able to capitalize on. In my journey, 2008 to 2012, which I feel like we're in a bit of a similar situation right now, even though I think the post-COVID factors are still throwing such a monkey wrench in things that it's really definitely not apples to apples. But I can tell you that in 2008, when there was so much fear in the market, and as things were going down, 2007 into 2008, I didn't know any better. But I think this is something that we can all learn from that. I learned how to grind from 2008 to 2012. I knew how to show up, be nimble, to be quick in making decisions. I learned really quickly how to do it really well. I think part of the transition right now in 2000, it's 25 now. So 2023, you probably are, depending on your industry, you're probably running a thinner operation today than you were in 23. You probably should be. Infrastructure wise, if you're in one of those oddities, like you're in AI or something, your company's booming right now and you need to keep doing what you're doing. But by and large, if you're kind of a labor heavy organization, you're probably thinning out a little bit. And that's just part of the deal. It does make sense to recalibrate to a place to where you feel comfortable. And that doesn't mean you're going to be making a lot of money, because you do have to keep key employees and systems and processes and things like that. But you do need to keep moving forward. And be recognizing that, hey, it's gonna continue to climb out over time. I think there are some things that are changing right now that aren't going back. Like AI is something that's going to be in every single business. It's already there, but it's going to continue to be refined. And if you don't have a plan for that, then you are going to have a really hard time. You're going to have to descale to the point to where you can mom and pop it. your scaling of your organization long term, again, be wise about it in this season, but it's going to have to incorporate AI to a significant degree, right? So we're not going back to a non-AI world. As far as like cryptocurrency, I think there's so much you hear on the internet, these reels of people that are like, the housing market's going to crash and crypto's going to crash and all these things. Here's the deal. For the last 5 years, actually the last 10 years, but specifically the last 5, we're migrating, right? It is migrating over, but it's not going to be knee jerk. Now there have been certain knee jerk winners and losers in that process that have made people a tremendous amount of money. I know people that have done extremely well. But by and large, you have to look at it holistically. In the West, we are merging towards a crypto-backed blockchain economic landscape. And so to bury your head in the sand about it, you're going to look back in 10, 12, 15 years and regret burying your head in the sand. But you have to liquidate everything that you have and throw it, in crypto or blockchain currency. No. But I do think, real estate's a great play. Your business is a great play. Those assets are going to continue to grow. But the point is that fear, we talked about fear at the beginning of this, and where I'm going with all this is recognizing that in the marketplace, the fear of what's happening is not a good position to make a decision from. Fear is actually never a good place to make a decision from. And so I give all that background on where we are economically, or what I think where we are economically is I don't think we're falling off a cliff in 26, especially in housing. I think if you're putting your house on the market right now, it's because you have to sell, and buyers know that, and they're taking advantage of it. There's no compelling reason to sell your house and buy another house, unless it's transactional. Like, hey, I got moved to Cincinnati from, Austin, and I have to buy a house. That's a thing. But realistically, people are not moving because they've got a great interest rate and there's nothing compelling that moves them towards buying a new house. I do think you could do well on a house right now. I think if you're selling a house, you're probably working with a little bit of house money, because your house in 2013, for example, compared to what it was worth in 2023, compared to what's worth today, there's enough appreciation there to where you're still playing with house money, in my opinion. I think there's some fix and flip people that have gotten, hurt a little bit on that. But again, by and large, people are moving because they have to, not because, they're compelled to, that they just want to move, or they're retiring, they're moving out of state, whatever. So there's still going to be some transactions happening. I do think it's going to soften up a little bit next year. I don't think it's going to be crazy. What I think the biggest issue right now in the marketplace is consumer confidence. I think there's a lack of significant consumer confidence, in a sense that people just don't know what's going on. Like I mentioned earlier, you've got the government shutdown, you've got interest rates that are just kind of floating around and not really doing much. Nothing's really moving the needle. It's all just kind of hanging around. So there's just a lot of things that are just kind of in neutral. And I think I think there's an opportunity for us over the next 18 months to actually have a pretty good economic outcome. I do think simultaneously, though, the housing market is actually just really adjusting. I think it's really more of an adjusting as opposed to like it's crashing. I think there's people that are trying to get likes and clicks. They're saying everything's crashing. I just don't see it. I do think in multifamily, notes are coming due and there is some opportunity there. I think in business, though, overall, I think there's an opportunity for you to be able to buy a business or expand your business right now and take advantage of the uncertainty. And it doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. It doesn't mean you're not going to have to cash flow it for a while. But I think ultimately it's going to give you the opportunity to grow your business. And I do want to say one more thing about experience. I kind of hit on this earlier, but I want to hit on this when it comes to what you do know as a business person. And here it is. The most valuable thing that you have as a business owner is being able to learn from the mistakes or the opportunities that you had over the last decade or two. And for me, when I look back at 2010, there was a couple clients of mine that had done tremendously well by buying a bunch of properties up at cheap value, holding them, and then selling them in 15, 16, 17. Of course, everyone has the hero story of those. The question is that do you have enough wherewithal to understand where we actually are in the process? The economy is cyclical. Now, is crypto cyclical? No, that is a new entity. Cryptocurrency is a new variable that is going to change the landscape, but so is the internet, right? I mean, the internet, if you guys can go back to the 90s, right? The internet, Y2K, I graduated high school in the year 2000. I literally lived through the Y2K thing. How dumb was that, right? The whole world's going to reboot at 2000 and we're going to go back to, throwing sticks at each other. What a stupid thing. But fear does stupid things to people. Cryptocurrency is real. It's a thing that is actually, I think, a tremendous value when they're printing money faster than you can even imagine that's getting printed into the marketplace. I mean, it's inflationary. It's not good to hold cash dollars when they're printing more cash dollars. So whether it's real estate, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's whatever, cryptocurrency, it's a good thing. It's a great thing to get into that and start to understand the depths of it. So we do have some variables that are here to stay, but like the .com thing or going into the internet life, I mean, our whole world revolves around the internet now, but it was, the devil in the 90s, right? Or the early 90s anyway. People were freaked out about it. So we have to keep perspective and learn from the past. Here's what I did learn in the going through the process of the last 20 years. I do know that opportunities come and go, but they don't. That doesn't mean you make quick, stupid decisions. That means you make calculated decisions based upon what you know. Here's a nugget. Okay, when I was building my car dealerships, it was extremely difficult to get certain banks. And the reason it was extremely difficult is because in the 2008 to 2012 bubble, crash, whatever you want to call it, the banks said, we don't need independent car dealerships anymore. They're too much risk. A ton of them went under. And then if it's an independent car dealership, we're not going to give them banks. We're not going to lend money to their clients, their customers. Indirect lending, I won't get in the weeds on that. But the point is that as a new car store, you can walk into a new Ford dealership and they'll say, they'll get you financed with, they have 100 different banks, but in an independent, they're very limited. And the reason is because after the banks got hurt in 2008, 2012, they said, we don't need the risk of independence. They don't have enough skin in the game to really keep, they'll just walk away. They'll move to Mexico and just walk away from the whole thing, where someone that owns a Ford dealership has millions of dollars, invested into it, and they're just not going to walk away. So all that to say, we are the last independent car dealership in Colorado to get these certain banks. And we heard no over and over and over again. But because of my persistence, we were able to get a yes. It's a whole long story of just being blessed in that whole process. But what I'm telling you is that there's certain things that you can get right now that when we get out of this recessive state, because do not make any mistakes, during the Biden administration, we were in a recession. We're still in a recession. They just didn't call it a recession because that's what they do. The liberals, they basically just call things what they're not or accuse you of doing what they're already doing and then pretending like that's not what's actually happening. We have been in a recession for over 2 years. It's just now the media is trying to paint it as a picture of a recessive state to destroy consumer confidence in order to hurt this president when they were basically pushing the last president up, okay? So you have to recognize and discern the times and the seasons. Like there's nothing happening we're actually in a better economic place, right now than we were 2 years ago. It's just they were propping up statistics and numbers and job information in order to make it seem better than it was. And they're trying to make it seem worse than it is right now. So you have to discern the times and the seasons of what's actually happening and then understand, like with me with those banks, I was able to get those banks. But once we got out of we were the last one to get signed up. That was almost 8 years ago. They will not sign up anyone else to use their banking platform. So the point is that we were at the right place at the right time. But I learned through that when the economic landscape is in a downturn, you can take advantage of that. And it may not just be buying a piece of real estate at a 30% discount. It might be getting a strategic alliance and getting in with somebody that you will never have the opportunity to get in with again. So whether that's a lender, there might be a bank, right? That's like, we're really overstretched on this property. If you can go in with an investor or two and make the bank whole, that's a relational component that they will remember forever. And you can leverage that relationship for the next decade. Those are things that we just discount. And I believe God works in and through us in the business arena to be able to be people's solution. At the end of the day, my job as the CEO of our company is I'm just the chief problem solver of the organization. And so when I, as the chief problem solver, can meet with another chief problem solver for a bank or whatever, we can figure out solutions for our organizations. And those relationships are what blossom long-term future opportunities. And so my encouragement to you is to write down over the last, if you've been in business for 5 years, fine, 10 years, 15 years. My encouragement to you tonight is to sit down and write down the 5 things or the 10 things that you've learned in the last decade to say, I stubbed my toe on that. This is what I learned. And this is what I know moving forward. Those are facts. When you go, I know for a fact that God was faithful in this. He was faithful in this. I learned this. Those are the same principles that are true right now today. And so if you want to know how to navigate the next 6, 12, 18 months, it's not like walking into a blind, dark oasis. Hopefully we'll get to the other side. And I'm just hanging on every word of the next economic advisor or the next, person that feels like they've got a good handle on the landscape of your business or your business industry. Take what you've learned and what God has shown you and the passion and the calling and the purpose in your life, and take those things and write down the 10 things or the 5 things that you've learned to say, I know for a fact this is true. I know for a fact God was faithful in this. This is what I learned, and this is what I can move forward doing. You can rely on the things that you know. Wisdom, knowledge, those things come from studying the word, from spending time with the Lord. You gain knowledge, and it turns into wisdom. And so my encouragement to you is not to quit. It's not to change industries. It's not to give up on your dreams. It's not to forsake the calling. It's not to sit on the sidelines until you figure out when you're more comfortable to do something. It's this: keep moving forward. Use a measured approach. Use wisdom. Don't forsake the call of God, and do not, by any measure or any chance, make a decision over the next 6 months in fear. If you're afraid of something, dig into it, pray through it, but do not make a decision in fear, because that is how you cost yourself a significant amount of time and effort that you've put into your business over the last decade. And you can flush it out very quickly by making decisions in fear. So hang in there, keep moving forward, understand what you're calling to do, and then keep moving forward in it. Thanks for watching today's Built for a Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Jeff VanderWal. We'll be here next week. We're going to be talking about more awesome parts about your business, what you can learn, what's happening in the marketplace, and where God's calling you, and how to use your calling and your purpose to make an impact. God bless.